party.
I sure did. Yeah, that's
Tomorrow?
Gosh.
so we're all here just to celebrate your birthday.
Yeah, Brother John's over here. Hang on, Mom. Get over. Hold on a minute, Mom. There you go. There you go. Get the walker in the right spot there. Here's Brother John dead ahead there.
You mean this one?
This one, yeah.
Hi there.
Hi.
Nice to see you. How are you?
Are you all sitting here?
Good. Oh, you
Yeah,
we're
having a
having a
Are you all sitting here?
No, we're gonna take these two chairs, so everywhere else will be fine.
You're
Have a
95.
seat right here.
94.
Excuse me. Not 95.
You're not either.
You're rushing her.
Yeah,
All right.
Oh.
Have a seat right here, ma'am.
Here to celebrate your birthday, so we're gonna play a few Elvis songs.
I am. Yeah,
Have a little
we're
speak
gonna
night.
sing, you're gonna have a little, you're gonna do a whole bunch of things.
You can sit over here, Mom. That's a good spot for you. And John will sit next to you there, kind of. All right, there you go.
That man that sang is gonna sing it.
Yes, you're gonna have different
What's
ones
he gonna
singing,
sing?
and
This will be okay then.
and Jim Sheriff's here to sing for you. It may hurt your ears, I'm not sure.
Don't say that. You'll never say it.
I'm not sure.
How are you doing, Eunice?
I'm gonna play for you today.
Doing pretty good for home.
Oh,
Well, some might argue that.
Welcome to the party.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a big celebration. Hello.
Got it.
have a seat right here.
Yeah.
Off you go. I'm gonna bring everybody else. Sarah, you wanna sit down? You wanna sit right here? Gonna listen to some music, okay? Oh, this is nice.
You wanna play some,
Milena.
you wanna play some prelude music?
Oh, sure.
We're gathering.
Me llamo Popo la Che.
Un poco, okay, come on over here.
Okay.
Right
Oh,
here.
thank you.
You're welcome.
I didn't know you could play the piano.
Oh, I work at it.
How long have you been practicing?
Oh,
There you go.
for a couple of days now.
Oh,
Yeah, a couple of days. Let me know when I need to stop, Jim.
Hi, have a seat.
Yeah, just do whatever you want. Dry grape, sweet
Have a seat right here, little miss.
Hi, welcome to the party.
Or are you ready?
we're still coming in, so yeah, just keep on over. Do your volume. Hit the Ebony's too.
Whoops, watch out. Let's not run Jean over. She's the life of the party. Yeah. Have a seat right there, little miss. Right there. Right there. That's right. Have a seat, Charlene. Come Betty. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, no, you got it.
Have a seat right here, Miss Betty.
Yeah,
Just go sit in the building.
You know, do that. She'd go to the Methodist church and she'd play at the Methodist church and sing and so forth. And so this is kind of, music has kind of been her whole life. And one particular artist that she's always enjoyed was Elvis.
No.
And so we thought today we'd kind of focus on Elvis, the king of rock and roll. One thing that a lot of people don't know about Elvis was that some of his friends always said, well, Elvis really always wanted to be a gospel singer. And you kind of catch that as we go through the afternoon here, you'll definitely hear that, because he cut 3 full-length albums of spiritual gospel music and so forth during his lifetime. So, Mom, back in 1991, Mom found in Nashville, Tennessee, this book called Elvis Presley's Songs of Inspiration. And so this is the book that we're going to use today to primarily to songbook. Just a Closer Walk with Thee was the title of that old-time hymn. Church and were a really important part of Elvis's childhood and in the years that followed. His mother Gladys was a very devout woman, and she took him religiously to all the services at the Assembly of God Church in Tupelo, Mississippi. Elvis claimed that he could remember gospel songs from the time that he was 2 years old. And by the time he was 8 years old, he was kind of slipping out of Gladys's lap and going up and walking down the aisle and kind of trying to join the choir, because he really had the music. He tried to kind of sing along. When he was 8 years old, he actually started singing hymns with his mother at the Sunday morning services, at camp meetings, and at revivals and so forth. So from age 8, he was pretty much into it. The gospel hymn we're about to hear now is one of the songs that Elvis considered to be one of his favorites, and one that he also recorded. So I want to introduce, without further ado, the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley, otherwise known as Mark Walker. And this is Amazing Grace.
Amazing grace,
Sing along.
how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind,
they lived in very poor circumstances on the poor side of Tupelo, Mississippi, and entertainment was a luxury that the family really couldn't afford. But one thing that's good about music is it doesn't take much more than a voice or two and maybe a simple instrument and so forth, and the next thing you know, you can have music. And so that's the way Elvis grew up. At age 10, he took second place in a singing contest at a county fair, which I found interesting. I'd heard in other places that someone heard him sing and thought, that guy will never be able to sing, you know. But he did take second place at age 10 in a singing contest. And by the time he reached age 12, his mother had bought him his first guitar. And so it's not hard to imagine that as Elvis began to practice the guitar and learn how to play it, that he might have started with this very simple song, He's Got the Whole World in His Hands. Again, feel free to hum along, sing along, dance along, or whatever you want to do. Raise your hand or whatever. How many verses? Three verses. All right. I'll tune that.
Well, feel free to join in. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the fish in the sea in his hands. He's got the fish in the sea in his hands. He's got the fish in the sea in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the little bitty baby in his hands. He's got the little bitty baby in his hands. He's got the little bitty baby in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
Well done. Well done. Give yourself a hand.
What do you shake?
When Elvis was 13, his family moved to Memphis, Tennessee, which at the time was kind of the music capital of Southern gospel, spiritual, blues, country western, all kinds of music was going on there. And all those things kind of informed his style, what you come to be familiar with as you hear him sing. The family there, as they moved to Memphis, they attended the First Assembly of God Church, and again, religiously because of his mother's influence. And it was near the housing project where they lived at the time. So he'd go in the morning and he'd go to hear all this dynamic preaching and music at the Assembly of God Church, and then in the evening he'd go to a nearby African American church, and he would there be introduced to a different kind of music. And he kind of took all these musical styles and they all formed his gospel, the way in which he kind of formed his own gospel style. The Blackwood brothers were members of his congregation where he attended there in Memphis, so that also formed him. So as he immersed himself in the music of all these different influences like Mahalia Jackson and so forth, you can kind of hear all this in an African American medley, which we'll hear now. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Wow, whoop-de-doo. Thank you for that. That was truly beautiful. Is that E minor key or what was that? What key is that?
It's A flat.
A flat. Man, very, wow. When Elvis was 19 years old, Sun Records released his first recording, and all of a sudden, Elvis mania broke loose in the land. You know, I mean, it was crazy. It was kind of, with that success came some misunderstanding because people just thought that, even ministers sometimes said, boy, that Elvis guy, he represents the worst of rock and roll, you know, because he was doing all that gyrating, you know, and all that hip swiveling stuff like that. And Elvis couldn't understand this. He said, I don't get it, you know, I mean, this is nothing different than I saw from the Pentecostal preachers where I grew up in the Pentecostal church. They were doing all this stuff. What's all the big deal about, you know? And so eventually a lot of that criticism passed away because, you know, people came to understand that he really was an artist. He was always reverent in his gospel music, but he didn't mind, you know, throwing in a little bluesy grit and a little rock and roll energy too, you know, so it wasn't like he was just all, he got after it, you know, which is from his background, and kind of became a hallmark, a trademark of that. One of the songs that Elvis might have gyrated to, and I'm not asking Mark to gyrate to this, but if he wants to, I did give him permission. So if any of you want to gyrate to this song, you can do that too. This is certainly one of the songs he would have heard from childhood. Give me that old time religion.
Feel free to clap along and get into it there. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me. It was tried in the fiery furnace. It was tried in the fiery furnace. It was tried in the fiery furnace. It's good enough for me. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me. It will do when I'm dying. It will do when I'm dying. It will do when I'm dying. It's good enough for me. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me. It can take us all to heaven. It can take us all to heaven. It can take us all to heaven. It's good enough for me. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me.
It's interesting how some music that is considered to be secular, you know, and some music is considered to be religious, sometimes these kind of all come together, and you can't hardly tell. You know, there's some secular songs that you hear, you're thinking, wow, that's really like the gospel, you know, that's really good news, you know, and so forth. So the song we want to share now is really a love song, and it talks about I can't help falling in love. This is kind of a signature song of Elvis. We're just going to have that done a cappella by Elvis' stand-in here today. I can't help falling in love.
But feel free to sing along with this one as well. Wise men say only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you. Shall I stay? Would it be a sin? For I can't help falling in love with you. Like a river flows surely to the sea, darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be. Take my hand, take my whole life too, for I can't help falling in love with you. Like a river flows surely to the sea, Darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be. Take my hand, take my whole life too, for I can't help falling in love with you. Happy birthday to you. When I was 10 years old, and I'll reveal that that was in 1957, so you can do the math if you want to. When I was 10 years old, Elvis appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show. I can remember when the Beatles came onto the Ed Sullivan Show. All the screaming girls, you know. But I can't remember when Elvis appeared because I was, only 10 years old and we didn't have a TV at the time, so that's the way that goes. But he sang a lot of his favorites, All Shook Up, Jailhouse Rock, Precious Lord, I Believe, It's No Secret, and all that sort of thing. But at the very end, after he had 7 songs in his set, and the very last one was the most significant one because he had promised his mother Gladys that when he appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show on national TV, that he would sing this particular song. And so we're going to hear that song now, Peace in the Valley. I am tired and weary, but I must toil, and the Lord comes to call me away. There the morning is bright, and the Lamb is the light, and the night is as fair as the day. There'll be peace in the valley for me someday. There'll be peace in the valley for me. I pray no more sorrow and sadness or trouble. I will. The peace in the valley for me. There are flowers will be blooming, the grass will be green, and the skies will be clear and serene. The sun never shines, giving one endless beam, and the clouds there will never be seen. There'll be peace in the valley for me someday. There'll be peace in the valley for me. I pray no more sorrow and sadness or trouble. There'll be peace in the valley for me. During his lifetime, I mentioned that Elvis recorded 3 full-length gospel albums, spiritual music. The most famous of those was probably How Great Thou Art. It was interesting, the day that he first heard that song, he fell in love with it. He rehearsed for 3.5 hours, and then he cut the signature record for what became that album, for How Great Thou Art. And that's how much he loved and appreciated that song. I found it interesting as I read about Elvis's life that he received no end of accolades and honors and great fame and glory and all that sort of thing, and all screaming teenage girls and all that stuff. But
when it actually came down to awards, he received only 2 Grammy Awards in his lifetime. It's interesting that How Great Thou Art was one of the Grammy Awards he received, and the only other one he ever received was also for a religious song or gospel song called He Touched Me. So again, kind of going back to the thought that, and this is a personal sadness for me, had Elvis lived longer, it seemed like he was kind of going back to his gospel roots. He even talked about doing a gospel music tour at that time. So I really have a sense of sadness about having lost him at that time. We want to have Mark sing another song for us. This is also an Elvis tune called Down to the River. He's going to sing this one a cappella.
As I went down to the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown, good Lord, show me the way. Oh, brothers, let's go down, come on down. Oh, brothers, let's go down to the river to pray. As I went down to the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown, good Lord, show me the way. Oh, sinners, let's go down, come on down. Oh, sinners, let's go down to the river to pray.
I think about what would I do if I became a single parent and I had 3 kids like age 4, 5, and 7. I have no idea what I would do or how I would manage, but somehow or another, Mom managed. I've often asked her, well, how did you do that? How did you take care of us? Because she really had no visible means of support. And you know, you got 3 boys, and we're kind of rangy-tangy. You can kind of see in the pictures there that we were not this quiet little kids, you know. So somehow in the middle of all that, Mom always turned it all around. So instead of feeling like it was a burden, she somehow or another made it into a blessing. Like she said to us so many times, I just don't know what I'd have done when your daddy died if it hadn't been for you boys. I mean, just a total reversal of all that. So as I was thinking about today and this 94th birthday celebration, Mom always tried to, because she's so musically inclined, she always tried to get all of us boys to play the piano. Well, sadly, none of us boys, we wanted to play baseball and who knows what else. And so we never learned to play the piano, but she did give us all a gift of music. And so, and none of us have really done too much with it, but I did want to sing with my brother John here, if he's still willing to do it, a little tribute song to Mother Dear here. It's based on a piece of music that Mom has. Yeah, here we go. This is Love Me Tender. This is a piece of Mom's shoot music from back in the day, so Love Me Tender. So I kind of took those basic tunes and some of the words and kind of messed around with them. And Brother John's going to join me here, and we're going to sing a little tribute song to our Mother Dear.
I'm kind of doing this under protest, so I've never, I can honestly say I've never sung in front of anybody ever in my entire life. And this will probably be the last time.
Well, come on over here, brother. We're just going to do it anyway.
Well, we're going to do it.
All right. So I'm going to sing that one, you're going to sing, and then we're going to sing the chorus, then you're going to sing that one, I'm going to sing the chorus, and then we're going to flip it over and do the other. Okay, we got it? All right,
There we go.
Are you ready?
Okay.
All right, here we go. All
I
right.
gotta adjust my glasses.
Are you ready, Mama?
I guess.
You guess. Loved us tender, loved us sweet, all those years ago. Made our childhood years complete, how you loved us so. Loved us tender, loved us true, you love us even still. Mother dear, we love you, and we always will.
Loved us tender, loved us long, took us to your heart, for it's there that we belong, and we will never part.
Loved us tender, loved us true, you love us even still. Mother dear, we love you, and we always will. Loved us tender, loved us dear, like the love divine. You've been there through all the years, each and every time. Loved us tender, loved us true, you love us even still. Mother dear, we love you, and we always will.
When
When
at
at
last we say adieu,
Mother, this we know, happiness will follow you everywhere you go. Loved us tender, loved us true, you love us even still. Mother dear, we love you, and we always will. Thank you very much. It was, I always wanted to say that. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, time to part.